Hey guys, it's Cody. I just got my payment this morning from Airbnb to help cover some of the cancellations that I had from a few guests. I'm going to be covering everything you need to know in this video here about what you should expect for your payout if you're going to get one, how much it's going to be, what the stipulations are around that, and what you can really just expect from Airbnb to cover in this situation. Now, if you haven't heard already, this is a plan that Airbnb announced almost a month ago where they said, hey, we know we've had a lot of cancellations. We had all of these people who had to end up canceling their reservations because of the outbreak that we have, and therefore we gave all of those people a free pass, if you will, under the extenuating circumstances policy. So they let all of these guests cancel for free, and the hosts were kind of left high and dry. So Airbnb did the right thing. They stepped up to the plate and said, we're not just going to leave you guys hanging. We are going to supplement you. We've got $250 million to set aside for this. We're going to be paying you out 25% based off of the cancellation fees that you would have had, and hopefully that will help so that you're not left totally out for the dogs. Now, like I mentioned, I think this is the right thing for Airbnb to do because a lot of hosts got absolutely destroyed by this. They were planning on a lot of income for the months of March and April and even probably into May and June, when people have made these cancellations. And, unfortunately, that's the livelihood that these landlords or these owners have to pay the bills on the property. And, it's a business for them at the end of the day. So to have all of these cancellations, it really kind of sucked. And a lot of them, a lot of the owners felt like, man, these guests are getting out free. What about my cancellation policy? How does this affect me? So we're going to be covering that here for you today. Let's jump into it. First, I want to talk about who's going to get these payouts because I just got my payout, like I mentioned, but it wasn't quite as much as I was expecting. So I was a little bit confused based on the numbers and what I thought I was going to get paid, but it's because I wasn't reading fully into how this program works. So I'm going to break that down for you here. The first thing that I want to mention is that on Airbnb's website, on their relief page, they have a note here that says on March 30th, we announced several key initiatives and policies, including $250 million to help accommodation hosts impacted by this outbreak. Here's how it works. For a reservation to be eligible under our extenuating circumstances policy, it must have been for accommodations and booked on or before March 14th with a check-in between the 14th of March and May 31st. If a reservation is covered, the guests are able to cancel for free. There's no penalties or fees for the guests. And Airbnb is going to pay you 25% of whatever your fee would have been for the cancellation policy. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky because I originally thought that it was going to be 25% of the booking amount, but like I said, I didn't read into it far enough, and it only applies to the actual booking fee that you would have had the person canceled under normal circumstances. So the tighter your cancellation policy, the more fee you should potentially receive. This is a little bit weird because, as Airbnb, it's like, well, in this situation, you're getting penalized for having a looser cancellation policy, which, most people and probably Airbnb would agree, saying that that's the better thing to do. Give the guests the flexibility. That's what everybody wants in this day and age. So give them that flexibility. But now, because of that, you're getting penalized a little bit more and receiving less of a payout. Like I said, I only got paid out on 2 of the 3 reservations that I was expecting. And I mean, it's relatively speaking, it's such a small amount anyway, that it doesn't really matter. So I'm not too worried about it, but it is kind of unique and a little bit interesting that if you have a stricter cancellation policy, meaning that, people would have to book earlier, or maybe you don't offer refunds at all, that you would actually be getting a larger payout from Airbnb under this program. Now, when can you expect to receive these payouts? Like I said, I just received mine. Airbnb announced that they would be sending out these payments starting in mid-April, and we're now near the end of April. So they've already started sending out these payments. If you haven't received yours yet, you should be expecting it any day now. Hopefully in the next week or 2, you will receive your payout. And like I said, this is just a way for these hosts to really kind of weather the storm that they've been in. In my market, I've seen a lot of these Airbnb hosts actually list their properties for sale or convert them to longer term rentals. A lot of people are doing long-term rentals and they're taking a hit on this just like everybody else. So this is to help weather that storm. And I got paid out on 2 of my reservations, even though I had 3 cancellations during this time. The reason why I didn't get paid out on that 3rd one is because the cancellation was booked far enough in advance that it didn't apply in my cancellation policy. So again, I only got paid out on the 2. I made $104.86. Like I said, not a huge amount, relatively small in the grand scheme of things, especially because I was planning on getting about $800 or $900 from these 2 bookings that I got paid out on. So I'm only getting an 1/8, maybe a 1/9 of the total booking amount that I would have received. But it is what it is, and I'm happy to take $100 to at least help alleviate some of the costs that I had to incur during this outbreak. Again, you're going to start receiving these payments as soon soon as possible from Airbnb. They've said that they're going to continue to send out these payments on a weekly or monthly basis until everybody has gotten paid the amount that they have, or I assume until they run out of their $250 million. Hopefully that doesn't happen like the government did, but hey, you never know what's going to happen. So hopefully the number that they're going to pay out is less than that, and they have enough to pay out everybody the respective amount that they should be owed under this. Now there's a couple things that I want to talk about in regards to how this affects Airbnb as a company. Airbnb is posting massive losses. They've already been operating at a net loss over the last couple of years, and it's interesting because their revenue has continued to climb each year, and in 2019 they posted record highs, but they also posted record losses on their net loss. So this is due in part to rising product development, rising sales and advertising costs, rising general and administrative costs, and really Airbnb is spending so much, they're trying to grow so quickly and get the word out that they're posting net losses. So 2020 was supposed to be the year that they kind of turned everything around. They went public, they had hundreds of employees who were holding options to cash in on their stock, their holdings in the company when the company went public, and they're hoping to cash out, right? This is supposed to be the year that 2020 turned around for Airbnb and they started to be profitable. But unfortunately right now that's not looking like it's going to be the case. In this article here on Wall Street Journal, it says with global travel nearly to standstill, the home sharing giant is expected to lose $1 billion through the first half of 2020. Its private market valuation is also dropping. And the company stated that they are raising another $1 billion from private firms to help weather this storm. However, that funding does come at a steep price. It says that they're borrowing $1 billion of debt, and it comes with an interest rate of over 10%. That's extremely high, especially when money is so cheap right now. They're paying a premium to be able to borrow this money. And according to this article that was written a couple of weeks ago, it says that Airbnb hasn't really discussed their plans to change their initial public offering. In my opinion, they're not going to do it this year. It's going to have to wait till next year because they're posting massive losses. Their private market valuation has dropped significantly, and if they go public now, they're going to get absolutely destroyed. Now, if you watched some of my previous videos, you know that I'm a big believer in Airbnb, and I think that a lot of people will continue to use the service as we progress into the future. But right now, for 2020, they're going to get destroyed. Their numbers are dropping significantly. Like I said, $1 billion of lost revenue in just the first half, and the second half probably isn't going to be that appealing either. So we'll see what happens with Airbnb. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out over the next couple of months and where they actually go. But as far as an IPO goes, I don't think it's going to happen this year. There's just no way. They're going to be posting massive losses for 2020, but it's going to take at least Q3 and Q4 of 2020 to kind of get back on track, and they probably won't start posting appealing numbers until at least Q1, Q2 of 2021. Another interesting thing is that their bookings have dropped significantly. On average, each week they're booking about 500,000 to 600,000 listings every single week in the United States, but that number has recently fallen to about 240,000 at the end of March. So their bookings are down by half, revenue's down, and unfortunately Airbnb is getting destroyed. The thing about this is nobody wins in this situation. The hosts don't win, the guests don't win because they don't get to travel, and Airbnb as a company loses out as well. There's a lot of people who rely on Airbnb as a company to make a living, and so unfortunately this is just another unfortunate situation that we all have to live with. So hopefully Airbnb can turn this around, get back on the right track, help the hosts, help the guests, and of course help themselves. So guys, with that being said, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and click that bell down below to get notified when I release these new videos about real estate, money, and anything that helps to make you money and get ahead. Give me a thumbs up here on the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.